It's June 3rd, 2023. I'm Todd Dunn, and this is the first video in my series of videos about lobster rolls, in which I'm going to go around to different takeout places here on Mount Desert Island, buy a lobster roll, eat it, and review it. But today I wanted to start with a little explanation. What is a Maine lobster roll? Now, some of my viewers aren't from Maine and may not have experienced one. Now, this is my take on the Maine lobster roll. Now, this may not be what you get if you buy a lobster roll down in the deep south, say Portland, but this is what I have found here in the Mount Desert Island area and at some of the offshore islands where I have bought lobster rolls. And so let's start out with, what are the lobster roll types? Well, the classic Maine lobster roll is a New England style hot dog bun. I'll show you one of those in a second, with lobster meat on it. And the lobster meat usually has just a little bit of mayonnaise and maybe a little lemon juice. And at least in this part of Maine, that's it. And the amount of mayonnaise that's on there is just enough to taste it. If the mayonnaise is sort of oozing out of the lobster roll, it's way too much. And the other kind of lobster roll that's available at a lot of the takeout places now is a buttered lobster roll, where the lobster meat is coated with melted butter and served on the Maine or New England style hot dog bun, and may or may not have some sort of garnish. Some of the more elaborate ones may use a little bit of roasted garlic to flavor the butter, or lots of other things. But basically, it's lobster warmed with a little melted butter, put on a roll, and handed to you. So a lobster roll is very, very basic. And what I'm going to do today is make two lobster rolls. One is going to be a classic with just a little bit of mayo, and the other is going to be a warmed buttered lobster roll. And we'll see how they come out. Now, I'm going to taste it and give you my opinions, and I'm also going to have my wife taste the lobster rolls. It took a while to twist her arm to get her to agree to eat lobster, but you know how it is. She finally agreed to do it just for the video. So anyway, the main ingredient though is lobster. In my opinion, if you buy a lobster roll, you're not buying it for the roll. You know, who cares if it's on a fancy onion brioche bun or with caraway seeds or something like that? What you're interested in is the lobster. And a typical lobster roll has about 1/4 pound of lobster, and which is really quite a lot of lobster. It's about what you're going to get out of a typical 1 1/4 pound lobster. Now, where does the lobster come from? Well, here it comes from just offshore, probably within about 3/8 of a mile. There are lobsters being caught right now that might end up in lobster rolls. Now, if you're going to make them at home like I am right now, there are a couple ways you can do it. You can go out, you can buy a lobster. Locally, the price I've seen for lobsters on Tuesday at the supermarket was $10.95 a pound. And that was for either a live lobster or a cooked lobster. If you buy live lobsters, you have to bring them home. You have to steam them for 15-20 minutes. And then you have to pick the meat out of the shell. And then you have to get rid of the shell, because if you keep that shell around, it will stink. So that's one way of doing it. The other way you can do it, and which is what I did this time because I was feeling lazy, and the local store did not have any live lobsters yet, is I went out and I bought half a pound of lobster meat. Now this is exotic lobster meat. It comes from a long ways away. It comes from Bernard, Maine, which is that way about a mile. And these lobsters were probably caught in Blue Hill Bay, which is on the west side of Mount Desert Island. And these were packed yesterday. So it's still fairly fresh lobster meat. Outfit over there in Bernard cooks the lobsters and then picks the meat. So this is half a pound of lobster meat. This is enough for 2 regular lobster rolls, and it costs $27. Seems expensive until you go out and price a lobster roll at the various takeout places. I've been looking at their online posted prices, and so far they range from $28 to $30 for a lobster roll. And we'll find out more about pricing as I go around and buy some lobster rolls at various places. But that's the price for lobster rolls right now. So I can make 2 for the price of this little package of lobster meat, plus a couple of buns and some butter and a tiny bit of mayo. So that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna start by splitting this into 2 4-ounce batches so that I can do one up with a little mayo and then melt some butter and warm the other 4 ounces in the butter and then serve it up on the rolls. What about the rolls? Well, as I said, around here you're going to get it on the New England style hot dog bun with the cut bread face on either side. Not what I grew up with, which is an individual roll that is slit down the middle. So that's what we're going to use. I bought these today at the supermarket and they cost about 30 cents a piece. So these 2 lobster rolls are going to end up costing just under $14 each. Now, since I bought this lobster meat at the grocery store, there was no tax. If I bought a lobster roll from a restaurant here in Maine, I'd pay 7.5% sales tax. So that $30 lobster roll would end up costing you $32.25. So these are pretty much bargain basement lobster rolls. And I don't have to go anywhere to get them since I'm in my kitchen right now. The other place you can get lobster a little later in the season here is some of the lobster fishermen sell direct, usually in the afternoon. And there are a number of places you can go around town and buy lobsters direct from the fishermen. And you'll get a little better price than you get at the supermarket, but still a little bit more than they get when they sell them to the lobster buyers. Now, the lobster boat price, what the lobstermen get for lobsters, is kind of difficult to find out. They don't like to tell you. So I don't know what it is right now, but I assume it's probably in the $6 to $8 a pound range. So lobster rolls aren't cheap, but we're going to make 2 today and try them out. So let me get going. Oh, here's the lobster meat. I split it into 2 equal portions. I cut this one up into sort of bite-sized chunks, and I left this one uncut just to show you what it looks like. And you can see this is a mixture of claw meat and tail meat, and also this is a bit of knuckle meat. So there's our lobster meat, and what I'll do is cut this up into bite-sized chunks, and we will have 2 servings of lobster to go in our lobster rolls. So before I do that, I'm going to get the rolls toasting. They're here. And I have a little butter here that's softened. So I can just lightly butter these, and then we'll toast them. There we go. All right. So I'm going to put these in to toast, and when they're done, we'll assemble the lobster rolls. Good. Let's assemble the classic Maine lobster roll first. I have a little bit of lime because I didn't have any lemon. And we'll just put the lobster meat in this little bowl here, add a little mayo, and mix it up. And basically and then I'll put a tiny squeeze of lime juice in, and that will be it. I'm just using plain old mayonnaise. I'm not using some sort of light mayonnaise or anything like that, just regular mayonnaise. So this is how much I'm going to use. It isn't much. Put it in there. Maybe I can get a little bit more. This jar is almost empty. That's probably about right there. That is, well, maybe a teaspoon and a half. Now I'm just going to mix this up to coat the lobster meat with mayonnaise. It's a pretty simple thing to do. And this lobster meat had been refrigerated, but not frozen. And I may have slightly overshot on the mayo here, but you can see how much I've got in there. So I'm going to assemble this lobster roll and we'll try it. So let me get that bun. Now, let me put a little squeeze of lime juice in first. There we go. Not much, just a few drops. All right. Now, here is the bun. I lightly buttered it and toasted it. And we'll put the lobster in. I think I'm going to get a spoon to do that. And the trick is just put it in there. There should be a lobster roll pretty much is heaping with lobster. And these are, as I said, quarter-pound lobster rolls. A little bit there. Now, I would hope that any restaurant that prepares it for you doesn't handle lobster with their bare hands like I am, but, you know, I'm making this to eat here at home. So there we go. A roughly $14 lobster roll. And that is a mayo type lobster roll. Now, you could garnish it with a little bit of parsley or whatever if you wanted. But when I've acquired these lobster rolls locally, they're not garnished with anything. So I'm going to cut this guy in half and we will try it. And then I'll put the other lobster roll together. Okay, this is my wife Linda appearing in her first video willingly. Bits of her have been in other videos, but I bribed her with lobster. So here we go. I thought I put too much mayo in there, but I don't think I did. No. You can just taste the little tang of mayo, and that's it. What do you think?
It's good.
Okay, we're going to save the other half of each of these, and then I'll put the buttered lobster roll together, and we'll try that and then make a comparison. Okay, I'm getting ready to do the second lobster roll, the buttered lobster roll. And what I have is just a little butter, and it's butter, it's not margarine or something like that, melting in a pan. And I'll just let it get warm and maybe start to foam just a little tiny bit. And we'll toss the chopped lobster in. And I did chop up the second portion of lobster. So this is approximately 4 ounces of lobster. I did weigh it actually. Okay, so we'll put that in there. And we're just going to stir it around a little until the lobster is nicely coated with butter. And I do have my little lime. I'm going to squeeze a few more drops of lime juice in. Nothing fancy. Here we go. And we'll just stir this around. and let it warm up. I'll turn that fan off so you can hear me talk. Okay, so basically we're just going to stir this around in the melted butter. We don't want too much, just a little bit to coat it. And once we get it there and it's warmed up a little, I will put it on the roll. I think I might put just a little more butter in there. I don't think I have quite enough. There we go. Let that melt and stir it in. And all I'm trying to do here is coat the lobster meat with melted butter and maybe warm the lobster just a little bit. And then we'll serve it up and give it the taste test. So, pretty easy to do. This doesn't take very long at all. And this is nice fresh lobster. That's the one thing you have to watch out for. If you want it to taste decent, you do not want to use frozen lobster or anything like that. Fresh lobster is the best, and the very best would be to take a live lobster, steam it, separate out the meat, and then use that for your lobster roll. That would be even fresher than you're going to get at any restaurant. Okay, that's getting warmed up, and we'll be ready to serve in just a few seconds. Okay, so I'll come back when this is ready. Okay, that's warmed up with melted butter. I'm just going to transfer that onto my roll. You saw what's in here: butter, a tiny bit of lime juice, and lobster. And that is what you want if you're buying a buttered lobster roll. I mean, you could get it with, oh, I don't know, chopped celery, various other condiments, etc. But I think we buy lobster rolls for the lobster. Let me set this pan aside, fold this guy up, and there we go, a buttered lobster roll. I'll cut it in half and bring my taste tester back into the scene. Now, well, let's do the acid test and taste this buttered lobster roll. And we're going to try and hold it over the plate so nothing falls out. We don't want to lose any lobster. That's really different. I think I like the mayonnaise one myself. What do you think?
I like the butter.
Oh no, another thing to fight over at home. More marital discord. Well, we're going to eat these because, you know, somebody has to. And my next video in this series is going to be me going out to a takeout shop, buying a lobster roll, and we'll look at the location of the shop, parking, all the details like that, and the price of the lobster roll. Okay, and then I'll buy the lobster roll, bring it back home, and we'll both taste it. And I think what we're going to do is, where we can, we're going to alternate between a mayonnaise lobster roll and a buttered lobster roll. So if a place offers both, I'll probably get the buttered lobster roll from it, and every place sells them made with mayo, so I can always get that every place else. Okay, hope you found this interesting. As I said, we're now gonna bite the bullet, so to speak, and force ourselves to choke these lobster rolls down. Thanks for watching.